right, the president calling his G7 meeting a success. Now he's hoping for another win. Trade talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping could be set to resume. Everyone waiting to see what comes of the Republican Senator of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, with us right now. Senator, good to have you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
You know, Senator, I caught your remarks over the weekend, and you were talking, I think, on CBS's Face the Nation about we've just got to accept the pain that comes with standing up to China. I got what you were saying, that tariffs don't come cheap, that'll eventually be passed on, and that we've got to get it right. But I think you were saying the greater good is keeping up the fight. But I don't know if a lot of Americans know that they're going to soon be feeling that. Do they?
Well, I think the president knows that if you surrender to China's cheating, it will devastate our economy and the world economy over time. So the price to standing up to China, I think, is a lot less than just giving in to China. The tariffs are a tool. Nobody likes it as policy. But I don't see how you make China change their behavior until there's a consequence to what they're doing. That's why we have the tariffs.
So, Senator, when the president says he loves tariffs and he's gotten better than $30 billion from the Chinese because of those tariffs, what do you think of that?
Well, tariffs are generating revenue. He's sharing some of that money with the farmers that have been hard hit. But tariffs as a policy over time, I don't really like, because it does eventually go to the consumer. But here's what I do like. I do like the idea that President Trump, unlike every other president, is actually doing something about China's cheating. I like President Bush a lot. Tried to work with President Obama. President Trump has designated China as a currency manipulator when the other two presidents refused to do so, because they are. And these tariffs are designed to get China to buy more of our products. The $500 billion trade deficit means that China is selling us $500 billion more than they buy from us. And the tariffs are trying to level that playing field, but mainly to change our business practices, which are way out of line with international norms.
You're right about that, but I'm just wondering if the president is potentially deceiving people into thinking that China's paying for this and not them. Now, I know what he says and what you just said about the devaluing your currency to absorb that, but the fact of the matter is it's American entities who are sucking that up, some passing out to consumers, others not. The latest wave that takes effect September 1st, as you know, Senator, could be immediate. These up to 15% tariffs that will affect school supplies and a host of other items. Are you worried that the president's not conveying that?
Well, I'm worried that we won't stand behind the president. I'm trying to be honest with folks. Listen, the steel and aluminum tariffs have hurt BMW. They've hurt, they've hurt Boeing. But the reason we are doing this is because China in 1 year, Neil, produced more steel than the entire world consumed. So Trump is pushing back against Chinese dumping of steel and aluminum to give us a chance to recreate our steel and aluminum industry. The intellectual property theft. If you go to China, they require you to have a Chinese business owner to do business in China. They steal your intellectual property and try to put you out of business. State-owned enterprises. Steel companies, the largest cost is power generation. The Chinese government pays the power bill for Chinese steel mills. There's no difference between the Chinese army, the business community, and government. They're all one and the same. And this president is really hurting China because the supply chain, Neil, is beginning to relocate. Because of these tariffs, it is now more expensive to do business in China. So people are looking to alternatives to the Chinese supply chain, which will devastate their economy over time.
All right. Well, they appear to be waiting it out. But, Senator, your colleague Roy Blunt warned that farmers are the ones caught on the broadside of this, even with some of that money, that tariff money that's been credited to them. He said they can feel it. The farming community up till now has really supported the president without flinching, but eventually you flinch. He's worried they're already flinching. Are you?
Well, let me tell you, to our farmers here in South Carolina, you're either going to fight China or you're not. And I hate it for the fact that the farm community suffers the most. No matter who you get in a trade dispute with, the first thing that goes is they start hitting farm products. Everybody wants to buy farm products made in America, so they do a lot of business in China. But how do you get China to change their currency manipulation, their intellectual property theft, state-owned enterprises competing with the private sector? How do you do that unless you push back? So to the farmers, it's either pay now or pay later when it comes to China. They're going to destroy the American economy, and there'll be nobody here really able to buy your products. So the textile industry was destroyed by China here in South Carolina. One day, commodities are going to come back in America if we push back against China. I know commodities go where the labor's the cheapest and all that good stuff, but if they're not out working us, Neil, they're just cheating us out of market share. They're cheating Europe out of market share. God bless Donald Trump for finally doing something about China. Let me tell you about South Carolina. We've got his back here when it comes to fighting back against China.
You know,